To assist me in taking apart some of them this morning, I am joined in studio by Stephen Matteson, HR consultant. Morning, Stephen.
Good morning, Philip, and good morning to your listeners. I'm happy to be here this morning.
And Selvon Mitchell, management consultant.
Morning, Philip. Morning, and morning to the listening audience, and good day to the listening audience because of the wide cross-section of listeners you have internationally and locally, and to the management and staff of this wonderful radio station.
I want to say thank you. I endorse what both of you said. The country is in dire straits. The 1% control media is using the PNM to sell deceitful narratives to keep their followers from fleeing the way Keith Rowley fled the country. But I want to ask if it's making a difference. When I talked to a granny yesterday on Quarry Road, she's 82 years old. She said to me, 10 years ago, her gallery line of sight with the Member of Parliament for Port of Spain, North St. Anne's West Belmont office. Line of sight. She 3 buildings from it. She said 10 years ago, Stuart Young ran up the stairs to kiss her and promise her he come in and fix the roof. 5 years ago, he didn't come up the stairs, he stayed on the pavement and he waved. But he promised her he come in and fix the roof. She says she has seen him in Belmont since. And she waiting to see what kind of promise he going and give now. She said that to me in the street. She said, Mr. Alexander, my home here was one of the homes the PNM used to take for granted, putting up PNM flags. She said there could never be a PNM flag on this house again. She said, I watched that man office. So he have to be seeing my house. So what does Stuart Young get from lying to the elderly, making political promises, and then abandoning them after? What does he get? How does that work? Don't they understand in this country, the people, especially people of places like Quarry Road, she's across the road from the Harp, up the road from Stratford, called people in the community tell me, Mr. Alexander, you here in the night? Politicians don't come here in the day unless they come in with a battalion of police. You here by yourself and your crew and only walking through normal. But that's how I have always been with the people. You know why they can't do that? Because of that same reason. You just take the people for granted. You just lie to them and then leave them in the lurch. Stephen, I ask you, as a former general council member of the PNM, was this PNM status quo? What would you call the word? I'm looking for the word.
Modus operandi.
Modus operandi.
What did you do at election?
Was this your modus operandi when you were on the General Council of the People's National Movement?
Well, let me just say this, just to add to what you just said with respect to the promises. I remember growing up as a little boy in 1981. A Calypsonian sang a song, a Calypsonian by the name of Penguin. He sang the song, Doggy, Doggy, Look a Bone. After elections, all the bone done.
Oh, cool. Can you find that song?
And
Can you find that song?
That song resonates. Every time I listen.
Find that song, Doggy, Doggy, Look a Bone.
Every time I listen to the politicians, the PNM politicians of today, because yesterday I was driving down the road and I had the opportunity to listen to another radio station, and I was listening to Donna Cox. I also listened to Brian Manning, but Brian Manning in particular, he said one thing. He spoke about the restoration of the Petrotrin and the refinery, and among all the things he said closing down the refinery. He said if Kamala comes in office, she will close it down. I didn't hear Kamala say that. Right? Kamala spoke about how the bid was won by a particular person. But he said that closing down the refinery will benefit no one. And he also said when the refinery was up and running, he had all the communities, everybody was happy around Petrotrin because everybody was benefiting, all the small businesses, the welder, everybody. He spoke about that. And I said to myself, how ironic. How could you come and say closing down Petrotrin benefits no one? I want to ask Selvon, why do you think they closed down Petrotrin? Because they who closed it down, the UNC didn't. They who closed down Caroni, the UNC didn't.
It was making profit. Yes, it had made profit. This PNM government did not shut down Petrotrin. You go and check the facts.
The third option that we looked at is if we were to close the refinery down, what would be the outcome of it?
Government is not closing down Petrotrin.
All the employees of Petrotrin will exit the company. All.
After more than 25 years, Petrotrin has closed its doors.
The reason to close down the refinery and the financial state that Petrotrin is in resulted from several factors.
This PNM government did not shut down Petrotrin. You go and check the facts.
Right.
The facts.
So Philip, so tell us why you. I mean, you closed the whole thing. I heard you talk a lot about Petrotrin, and you know why do you think they closed down Petrotrin?
I really don't have an idea because there's so much crosstalk within the party itself that they are not really sure why they closed it down. Inverted commas, I'm saying this, really and truly. And
was it to hide something? What was it?
I don't know, and I don't want to go there, but any sensible government, if you believe you can't manage it, you could have said it as a going concern. Why you shut it down? And after 8 years, when it would take about $1.something billion to start it back up, you want to sell it to somebody to do the same thing you was doing before, you sell it down. Not nobody whole shutting down of Petrotrin make logical sense.
And I don't think
from a business standpoint
I
or
want to
economic
ask
standpoint.
you, there was a fake oil scandal that took place. Kate Rowley's lawyer was a fellow by the name of Michael Commoner in that fake oil scandal. Remember that?
Yep.
Michael Commoner ended up as the chairman of the company that take over the oil management aspect of what was Petrotrin, Heritage Petroleum.
The holding company.
You realize that?
Yeah.
It is an incestuous, interlocking, diluted gene pool of personalities that descended on Petrotrin for what, when we get into office, we will commission an inquiry as to get to the answers here.
You must do that.
Because something went wrong that made the PNM think throwing 10,000 people on the breadline made sense.
But you know, I look at people from a different standpoint with governance. PNM did that, yes? And they still won point and labor in the election. And I'm trying to figure out what people think.
Well,
with their behavior, if nobody are thinking logical, that this happened, yes? Am I not reading through the lines as we talking here, on the block, in the corner, in the homes and so forth, yeah? That we shut down. I remember when they shut down Petrotrin, Roger and they couldn't himself get 100 people to march around Pointe-a-Pierre roundabout with them in protest of the shutting down of Petrotrin.
And you know,
which is strange.
You know, last night I had the opportunity to listen to a Facebook post by a lady. I can't remember the lady's name, but I shared the post, so it will be on my Facebook page. Who said that? It's strange what you're saying. Who said that? How could the PNM be doing the people who least could afford it, the things they're doing, and they continue to vote for them still? She said that you all, I don't want to use the S word, she said you all keep eating, they keep feeding you all crap.
Go bar.
And all they're calling it ice cream.
Safe food.
Go bar, listen.
All they're calling it ice cream.
Yeah.
So when I listened to Donna Cox and the rest of them on the
God,
radio
why you listening to Donna Cox?
radio yesterday,
You're gonna lose
talking
brain
about
cells.
all these things they give to people and they want to give to people. I said, who got that? They don't know who need it. I know people in my community that are really, really in a critical state. I didn't see them accessing those things. All those grants and all those
You asked a
15
question, Selvan. 1.1 million people are registered to vote. 1.1 million people are registered to vote. The lowest voter turnout we've gotten so far was the 58% in 2020.
Yeah.
The UNC lost to the PNM by, I think, 20,000 votes, odd votes, through 41 constituencies. But if you look at all the other votes, just that were placed in other parties that election, the UNC would have beat the PNM hands down if there was no split vote, right?
Yeah.
But why does almost half the population who have the ability to vote just not vote?
Well, because the parties that exist not stimulating the imagination of the people, really and truly.
You think that's
excited me because really and truly, okay, I'm hearing things now. I listened to UNC meeting last night, and we had to start stimulating the imagination of the people, you know, because what people hear, the last thing people want to hear is rhetoric of who thief, and I just say,
no, but how could they manage? How could they manage to get their message out when news they have screaming Mimi Terrence the Alsing, that convent girl, lying and saying that if the UNC come to office, IMF will come back. How the hell the IMF supposed to come back if the PNM lose and there's a new
worse than that? But the thing about it, people believe in that.
Because
this is a problem. This is it. People actually believe in it, and people are thinking, why I not believe in it? Why you not believe in it?
And I want to tell you.
No, but
why you not believe in it, Matheson?
I mean, I 2 weeks ago, in our launch at Naparima, I heard Kamala Prasad said some things that made a lot of sense. That would help the small man, the person on the street that are really reeling of the policies of the PNM. And not long after, I heard the PNM counteracting it with their own.
And you know what they're doing?
Their own policies.
Their own version of it.
Their own version of it. But they are saying, on the other hand, on the same mouth, they are saying that if the UNC do it,
it's good.
It will cause, inflation. It will cause the US dollar to go to 15 to 1. It will cause all kind of madness. And people actually
I asked one fundamental
question. Live on the radio here, but you can't tell me that people that stupid.
That's stupid. Some of them really said that.
I asked Matheson, I say I focus running a country as a business, for example. And I ask, people must ask themselves, the measurement of the efficacy of a government is demonstrated by a fundamental thing. When I open my fridge, is there food in it? When I open my cupboard, is there food in it? When I swipe my card, is there money in it?
Am I running from the Chinese grocer? Am I hiding from the landlord?
And you must determine that.
Am I covering down my car from the bailiff?
Exactly so. And a government...
Am I juggling every month to pay one and not pay
a government policy will determine how I want to live.
Exactly.
But if this government policy or any government policy, how you when you open your fridge, all you can get cold water, then you know there's not government to support, really and truly.
Which cold water? You getting cold water when you open your fridge? Well, give me a break tonight. I know water, no way.
So the the policy must be reflective on your standard of living, right? From education, from food in the grocery, as the case. Why it is we as a country, just so, why it is we as a country now importing over $7 billion in food, yeah? And we have a faculty of agriculture in UWI. Well, one of the saddest thing I ever see is lecturers, I tell my lecturers protesting for money. Really, you're sending your children to a school with the teachers, lecturers, who's supposed to teach your children how to do business, protesting for a 4% or a 6% increase in salary. But sidebar, when we as a people realize when I go in the grocery, as the Prime Minister said, I can't afford food. Yet, $7 billion of our food is being imported when the agriculture sector in Trinidad is dying. And there's no policy from the government
but if you spit on the ground
to stimulate that industry to help me live a better life.
Plenty to unpack in everything that you just said there.
Yes.
All right? Plenty
I laid a foundation.
100,000 acres of fertile farmland we inherited from Petrotrin, Caroni, Clico.
Yep.
So we have 100,000. 70,000 is Caroni land.
Yeah.
100,000 acres. 30,000 registered farmers.
Yes.
This is why farmers can't grow food in the country. One, there are no water in the dry season, so we're losing 2 crop cycles. Two, pray their larceny. You work to get your crop ready to harvest. Harvest time is tomorrow. The bandits harvesting tonight. Three, the cost of chemicals and fertilizer and other requirements for the growth cycle of your plants. So you tell me this. If I know that, and I could say that in a sentence, you think the government don't know that?
Of course they know that.
So then you are saying to me, if I answer you with what I just answered you, we have 100,000.
Yes.
Matterson say if you spit a seed on the ground, it's growing.
Yeah.
So we know that the land fertile.
Yeah.
Trinidad was a net food exporter up to the 70s.
Brilliant. Good.
So we know that we could be food self-sufficient, we could feed ourselves.
And we don't have to try to reinvent the wheel. I mean, we could just go China. There are all kind of machinery to do all kind of things.
No, I'll answer for
kind of
I know where you're going, you know. This is not being corrected because the importation of $7 billion plus in food facilitates somebody making money at the expense of the people, you know.
Financier.
You understand what I'm saying? Somebody bringing in over $7 billion in food into Trinidad. And if we fix the agriculture sector, we interfere with their pocket. So here we're going on. Suffer people, let me partner make money.
So, okay. I'm saying to you that I agree with that because I've been saying that for decades. So I agree with you 100%. That's a given. But to the people who vote in PNM, I want to say this, right? The price of kale in Price Mart now is about $29. I, Philip Edward Alexander, reduced the price of kale in Price Mart with a live video. I, Philip Edward Alexander, exposed Price Mart selling $49.95 kale when Shaliza Hassan Ali was growing kale in Point Fortin and selling it for $3. Price Mart, through a middleman, went and buy out Shaliza and bring down the price. Philip Alexander lowered the price of kale. But why does Shaliza have to sell to Price Mart? Why doesn't the government, through the Ministry of Agriculture, establish proper marketing systems so that Shaliza could grow her, and the same way Price Mart can come and buy out all? Why can't the government come and buy out all and put it in markets all through the country for the people?
And these are the policies we want to see government, yes, established in Trinidad and Tobago if you care about the people. It's a demonstration I care about the people, policies. And the fact that the absence of those policies show that government really have an overarching vision for agriculture.
You have to shine a spotlight on this.
And they will say...
No, you don't shine spotlight on
you, St. James Market. You ever went to St. James Market? Go to St. James Market on Western Main Road. It's the size of this room.
Yeah, it's
empty half the time. Parking, 4 vendors.
Yes.
But there are 35,000 people living surrounding that market. In any country in the world that have a civilization, you know what brought us together besides the agrarian economy, where people stopped roving the world looking for food, where we stopped and we started to plant.
Marketplace.
Yep.
That is the center of the community.
That's where everybody
we built the community around the market. Where are our markets? What are our farmers supposed to do with their goods? Everybody's supposed to harvest down in Claxton Bay and Quite and drive up to Central Market. Where are the markets? Every constituency should have a central market. When you go to Barcelona, the Barcelona market, what we copy and call Grand Bazaar is a market, but the Barcelona market is world famous. You go to the Barcelona market and there are 5,000 food vendors. The fishermen bringing in fish, the farmers. You could walk through the market and buy fish, buy ingredients, buy potato, and then go by somebody in the market who all them doing is cutting up that fish and cooking it for you right there.
Right there. I've seen that.
Tourists go to Barcelona just to experience the Barcelona market. Our central market is a filthy. I don't want to disrespect the people who work there, because the men and women who try to maintain it doing a fabulous job under ridiculous circumstances, underpaid with no equipment. The vendors working under terrible, terrible conditions. It should not be a regional corporation issue. It should be a Ministry of Agriculture that understands what the growth and marketing means to the country, and we need to have a government that can do that.
And I look at communities like Toko Sanigrandi. I like to talk about Toko Sanigrandi.
I feel you moving up there.
Originally, I'm from that area.
You're from there?
But I like to talk about that community. And by the way, I want to say good morning to Wayne Sturge and his team, Angad and Fatty and the rest of them. But the thing is, when you look at
the next MP for Toko Sanigrandi.
The next MP for Toko Sanigrandi. when you look at what is happening in that community with people just with no options, right? To work in a little store that ain't doing nothing for you, or to just hustle. To come to Port of Spain, right? If we just divert, that community is naturally a wetland kind of community. I mean, anything that grew up there, extremely fertile.
Yeah.
When we look at the amount of land and the amount of agriculture space for things to happen in that area, I don't see why agro-processing, mechanized farming, all those things are not considered for areas like that to reduce our
and you're right, and you're correct, because we want young people and we're telling them going to farming, but we're still thinking going to farm bareback and
so
barefoot.
when you talk, when I heard Donna Cox talk about giving somebody want to start a business $15,000 and they allocated $6 million for that, $1 million US for that for the year, I said, these people really thinking what $15,000 could do to somebody who want to start a business? That ain't even paying your rent for the first month.
That's buying a vote.
You're crazy.
That's buying a vote. It's not a policy. It's not a plan. Don't highlight that. Don't highlight that. I want to tell you something. I want to say something because you say something just now. Sangre Grande has gotten a reputation. The people of Sangre Grande, and good morning to the people of Sangre Grande, they've gotten a reputation for doing everything well. People tell you, if you want to get a passport fast, go Sangre Grande. If you want good treatment in the hospital, go Sangre Grande.
Yeah, that for sure.
Driver's permit.
Driver's permit, Sangre Grande.
Yeah.
So, what's going on in Sangre Grande that we need to be looking at and emulating throughout the rest of the country? What's going on there? You talk about it.
But unemployment, Sangre Grande have one of the highest rate of unemployment. It's a dense area to some extent, but you have a community that just...
Having any unemployment in Trinidad and Tobago is unacceptable. For where we're located on the planet, Trinidad and Tobago should be putting 1 million people to work in marine industry alone.
If you look at Sangre Grande, it doesn't just include Sangre Grande, it includes Toko, Sangre Grande.
Right.
And that long stretch of person, about 8,000 or 9,000 people living from Toko, from say Oropuch to Matlat. Those people need transportation, they need proper roads. Since I'm a little boy, the roads remain the same going to Matlat. You and I went Matlat.
Yeah. That's a running joke. That's a running joke. Getting to Matlat is a joke.
Scary, not joke. It's scary.
And how hard is this to solve that problem?
That's a village that cuts off when it rains.
Cuts off, and you have to drive from, get transportation from Sangre Grande to even reach from Toko to even from Matlat to even reach Sangre Grande is a day work.
But the question begs. So we go back to something we're saying, a number of things that morphs into one thing. What is our agriculture development plan for Trinidad to be self-sufficient with food? Do we have a plan for that?
We have a plan.
Good.
But I want to ask you one question before you go forward, because I just want to ask this.
Ahead.
Do you think that it is they don't know that they're doing wrong, or that it is deliberate and this is a plan to keep the people subservient?
I feel deliberate.
It's a carrot and a stick kind of thing with the PNM. It has always been like that. And
so we don't
I refer back to the song that I was talking about by Penguin, Doggy Doggy
Get
Look
them
a
the
Bone.
song. Get them the song.
Get them the song.
That song really talks about...
Get them a verse and chorus.
That song really talks about the PNM around election time. And in fact, he was talking about he could have only been singing about the PNM.
And I'm out
in 81.
I shame for them, politician, like old Cocky, they just treat me when time to run for election. All this dog treatment is done, and what make the thing a joke, like the tricksters always work. They ill-treat the puppy, beat the puppy, then they come to coke. Doggy look a bone, doggy doggy look a bone, doggy look a bone, doggy doggy look a bone. After election, all the bone done, so come and touch.
That's it.
To
I
fix.
can't let that play no more, boy. That's an insult to the people that is the reality, and that's since 1981.
81. And what I'm saying
That
is,
is 45 years.
yes,
of
and what I'm
doggy
saying
look-up
is,
own politics,
people
boy.
still, well, what I,
45 years, Matterson.
but listen, what
Think
what,
about it, somebody who was 20 years old the first time that song
I'm
played, is
telling you,
65 years
I'm
old
telling
now.
you, I'm telling you.
Doggy look up bone politics.
Politics, it's still going on. And the thing is, the people who support the PNM still haven't learned. Well, I had to say myself too, because I wasn't around the PNM for some years. But what I'm saying is, I think people are now understanding more the realities of voting and what it gives to you or what it doesn't give to you. Because I'm looking at the UNC's rallies, and I'm seeing more people that look like traditional PNM supporters in the UNC rallies today. And that to me tells me something.
Wealthy people.
No, I said traditional PNM supporters.
So,
Who support them? Them wealthy people wasn't supporting them. They was financing them.
No, it
You
come
talk, talk.
It come down to a large extent. We put the manifesto there, and it's how we manage the implementation of these policies that really come to bear to a large extent. Yeah? We could say a number of nice things and so forth. And are we structured in such a way from the public service standpoint who will be championing implementation, and how will we drive that? Now, Pandey started special purpose company, Manning expanded on it because he realized it was a good idea to get away from the bureaucracy within the public service. We start special purpose company.
To end run the tenders process.
For implementation sake too.
To end run the tenders process.
Yeah, of course. That too.
We had a robust tenders process before that. It took a bit of effort to corrupt.
Yep.
But the special purpose companies is just free money. Yes or no?
Yes and no. Yes and no. There's good in everything, you know. There's good and bad. You could take a knife, kill a man. You could take a knife and peel an orange.
Continue, sir.
It's how you use the tool. It's how you use the tool.
No, but to a large extent it was to remove, to bypass the bureaucracy, to get service to the people.
No, but to a large extent, that say that. But then I had to go with Philip now, because while I was in government, Philip, the bureaucracy never stymied the ministries. Policy never stymied my implementation of projects. So now you win your point using me as an example, because in 1 year we were able to give out 332 contracts in 1 year, complete and paid everybody within time, using the ministry same policies and guidelines.
That was under Dumas.
Under any Dumas and so forth, right? Because we set the processes everybody bought in. What we have to do, and this is why I go back to efficacy of ministries, must to a large extent train the people in the ministries purpose and intent while you're here, what you're doing here, how you're supposed to do it. Yes? This is why I said ISO certification in terms of management system, processes, policies must be part of a ministry, because they deal with implementation and spending over $50 billion a year.
So maybe the incoming government sets up a real Department of Government Efficiency in Trinidad to identify. No, I'm saying.
Go ahead. Let me see.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Because you are saying to the listening audience, I'm hearing you say that to move from idea to implementation mustn't take that amount of time and effort. We need to be
agreed, 100%.
We need to be able. If we say today that we want to get into agriculture and we identify how we're doing that, what's the plan? Say, okay, we're going to grow all these crops in these locations. We're going to give the farmers access to farmland at no charge. We're going to take all the product from them as they grow it. We're going to get them the support to get it grown, so that in 3 months, the 3-month crop cycle, 6 months, the 6-month crop cycle, and we get food grown. We identify what we want for local consumption, what we want for export.
Bring down the price of food.
Bring down the price of food tremendously. The price of food is ridiculous. When I tell people the price of kale was $49, and you could have buy it in 0.14 for $3, that is a massive difference. That is, you could have buy 15, 16 kale from 0.14 for the price for 1 kale in Price Mart. That is a conversation that you have to have with the people who are dealing with money that's shrinking in value. When Stuart Young went on the stage to say he went to the grocery for the first time in his life, the butler used to go, the maid used to go, Maybe Asher used to go, but he never went. And he said $500 only get him $200 worth of food. Who responsible for that? He said not his government, but he had a government that was 22 hours old before it collapsed in office and dissolved the parliament. But what they're trying, this you would not believe. When Stuart Young say it's not this government that closed down Petrotrin, he is trying to say that the Keith Rowley government is different to his government.
Yes.
That is what he's trying to say.
So yes, and
Excellent point.
You know, I pick that up. And the thing is,
That is the game they play.
so what is he saying? So you're now acknowledging that Keith Rowley
Failed.
was a failure.
You was his
You're now
right-hand
acknowledging
man and he failed.
And everything you're saying, And everything you're saying,
was
we
his
will not
right-hand
do this,
man.
we will do this. We will not do this again. Or we will. So you're acknowledging the man was a failure.
All the UNC team need to do is take Stuart Young's speeches and just add to it under the PNM.
I tell you, when I heard it,
Under the PNM, under Keith Rowley, Petrotrin was closed. Under Keith Rowley, 4 divers died because Keith Rowley had a nincompoop as a Minister of Energy.
you know, that's something I wanted to talk about too, that diver thing. You remember in the same meeting in Naparima, Kamala spoke about compensating the divers. Moments after, you hear
I'm giving them a
They
million
have
dollars.
no idea.
PNM going to
They
support.
don't know what
PNM
to
going
do.
to give the divers $1
Stuart
million.
Young
No,
just-
that's
Stuart
how
Young-
ludicrous that is. I
This
mean,
is what-
that's a disrespect.
This is the marketing team behind the PNM. This is their plan, right? Listen to what sounds effective from the UNC Coalition of Interest. Copy it. We will keep there because you're not hearing Kamala's voice as much as you're hearing non-entities in the politics. They have 2 pop-up parties that are getting more column inches than they deserve. They bring nothing to the table. All the 1% is trying to do, and you see, I asked it earlier, and I want to tell you this. When you ask, why would people still vote for it? Because they manipulated, they brainwashed, they damaged, they desperate, they
I heard
dependent.
I heard something yesterday. I mean, it's really, I don't really want to talk about on radio, but I heard that how the PNM is the plan to steal elections, and that is to rig the votes. And certain things are happening, but we will talk about it after.
No, we're talking about that.
No, I don't want to talk about it on radio.
We will talk about it when we have facts, but I want to tell you something. The United National Congress Coalition of Interest sent a strong legal team to meet with the EBC Monday and came away dissatisfied.
I understand voting started already.
Hear this now.
Yeah.
They just had to
Okay.
remove an elections officer, EBC
Certain
elections
voters
officer.
are
I saw it
called.
last night.
Yeah. Go ahead.
You can have people working inside the place for the state endorsing a political party.
That's a presiding officer, but we talk.
Whoa.
Today, the children of this nation, once again, are going to take part in the greatest exercise that leads to mental illness, anxiety, depression, bipolar situation, the SEA exam.
Yep.
The SEA came out of the Common Entrance Exam. It was literally called the Common Entrance Exam because it was an entrance from primary school into secondary school. There was not enough secondary places for the amount of primary school students, so children could fail. So you had to fight to get a place. When Kamala Prasad Bisesa was the Minister of Education under Bastio Pandey,
Yeah.
we got 100% places. You could have transitioned straight from primary to secondary. Why didn't they pair schools? If you didn't want to make them 10-year schools, why you didn't say all the children go in Newtown Boys, go in Fatima and St. Joseph? Why you didn't pair schools so that immediately the same bunch of children who know each other, who've been playing together and growing together from the age of 5 to 11, some of the hardest times in the development of a child, they've established strong relationships. Why didn't all of them move together? Because the perfect plan is a 10-year school that you come in at 5 and you leave at 15,
Yeah.
but you, mommy, daddy, caretaker, teacher, administrator, and all your friends grow together so that you could develop as a functional, conscious human being. But instead, we have an exam today where you have to fight to get into prestige schools. Why are the prestige schools better than other schools? Why is that question not being asked? Why aren't we taking, like how they do in basketball in America, find the top coaches, find the top players, and seed them into the other teams to keep the whole thing, so you don't end up with 4 good teams and the rest also ran. We need to know that you're voting into office a government that understands the needs of our children.
Correct. When
you damage a child, these young people that end up at 11 years old failed. They failed, eh? When they mommy and daddy have to hide, well, he passed from Mokarapo. That's a failure. To them, you could tell me 2-3 children come out of that school or any of these schools with passes, and I tell you yes. But the exception don't make the rule. The fact is that the schools are failing the children. Children are coming out of the schools undereducated, functionally illiterate, not set up for society. And it is the children at the lowest rung of society that don't have the parental support at home that they should have. Crime and poverty has isolated children inside the house. Community is dead. You no longer have access to the extended family, granny, grandpa, and other people that give you advice based on life experience. So you have Synergy TV raising the children on social media. And I'm just saying these things. You could take from it whatever you want and you can run with it. I'm saying the children that have supportive parents that go to functional schools come out as successful adults. The children that do not have those things are set up for failure in Trinidad and Tobago.
I want to say 2 things.
Yes or no?
So, yes. I want to say 2 things. The first is that one of the biggest elements of the failure in the school system is that we do not have like a VAC system where we channel people to how they learn. People learn in different ways. So a child will come in your class and he'll be very disruptive. It is not that he is a bad child. It is not necessary that he has a learning disability. It may be that he learned differently. Some people learn by touching things. Some people learn by reading to them. Some people learn by reading different things.
I what you're saying. Einstein said, if you try to educate all the children in the same manner,
right,
you will frustrate them.
You will frustrate them.
But you can't judge all children the same because it's like trying to teach a fish how to climb a tree.
Exactly. Yeah, which is why I'm saying what I'm saying. So that's where we had to start. We have to start by channeling people, channeling students,
redeveloping the system
into areas where they learn.
The areas don't exist. We have to redevelop the system first. Somebody called me last night. I was on an interview on a podcast on social media, and somebody called to ask the growth in the amount of children on the scale of underdeveloped. What was the term she used? She used a term. And there's also an amount of children who are highly advanced and highly educated. We have
highly educated in why?
Because
the one area we teach in, the persons who learn in that area, who learn quickly using that method, will be the one that would succeed, will be the one.
So you say that model works for that type of person?
That model would work for that kind of person.
And you're saying that there must be a model that understands that some children are more predisposed to different disciplines.
By nature.
Exactly.
By nature. But to a large extent, the education really starts, as you say, and I pull what you say on a foundation that says, education really starts in the community.
Mm-hmm.
Are we doing any needs assessment within the community to see what the challenges are? Yeah, with that child, yeah, from foundation, before he reach primary school, secondary school, is he being fed? Is he eating food? He have lights in the house and so forth.
Well,
because we have an expectation of that child to perform as the child from Bayside, you know.
The politicians will.
But he had no light home.
You had to let him say that again, you know. He had to say that again because I want you to understand that social development matrix that he's referring to does not exist in Trinidad.
Exactly.
No. It doesn't exist. You assume that the child from Westmoreland and the child from Beetham have the same access to the same benefits in society, and they don't.
They will tell you that. That's what the politician will tell you. Well, we get them centers, we get them all that, and people still gimme, and people still.
The fact that they say that show me that they don't understand.
They don't understand it. They don't understand.
So,
different dispositions.
So, but here's the interesting one, and I'm wondering. I see they building pools in community. Somebody didn't need assessment that a pool is relevant for the development of that community. Or we just building pool because it sounds nice and it fancy and it.
Because
really?
Because it bougie. Bougie people have pools. Look at pool.
Look at pool. Only in the game now.
Pool is the game. Pool is the latest spinning rim.
Yeah.
Pool is spinning rims. You put spinning rims on the community.
I'm saying. Okay. We talked this thing some years ago, I think on your program. Do we know how many children that born, let's say, 10 years ago in the school system today? Are we aware of all those children that born 10 years ago that should be sitting, let's say, common entrance or what they call it today, are in a class doing common entrance today? Do we have any data
that goes back to the digitized system?
Do we know?
We're talking this
exactly so.
From the moment a child is born in Trinidad and Tobago, that birth certificate should create a digital account that only closes when this person dies.
Yes. Exactly.
Yes. And all along the way, it's supposed to be giving you little updates, little alarms.
Yeah, and this is the same system I talk about. If we digitize everything on one system, child born, you have child fingerprint, you have everything.
And those policies...
It will be difficult to do certain things and get away with it. It will be difficult to commit crime repeatedly. It will be so many things.
Those policies demonstrate to me that an administration is serious about the development of a country, you know. So these are my measurements. I look for measurements to see how your policy impacts on, the standard of living of every individual.
Make social development ministry the smallest bastard child ministry of the government.
Then that is not your forte.
That shows.
It don't fall in your vision.
To people, social development should be a super ministry. Under social development, you're supposed to have the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of National Security, the Ministry of Culture. Because those are all social development issues.
Exactly, and to a large extent, you give social development, let me say 1 billion, but you give Ministry of National Security 6 billion. You know it's supposed to be flip really? Because here we're going on. With social development, if you fix the community, you know, fix crime. And we just...
No, but by the way, that $6 billion is not for any development, not to buy anything.
This why you have to flip it.
It's for recurrent expenditure, by the way. You know, it's to pay salaries and all that kind of thing.
When you have a children's authority, when you create the children's authority, the problem was funding, and you put it in a building, it's $125,000 a month rent. Come on.
Exactly so. Exactly so.
Come on. Who you fooling? Stop fooling the people.
When children authority is supposed to come out of the Ministry of Social Development that partners with the community in terms of development and so forth, you know. Take that money, put it in community development, redistribute that workforce in community development to do those needs assessment and look for solution to deal with the challenges.
Who is most driven for the development of a child other than the parent? The parent is driven. But you
who's talking to them?
But you frustrate them.
Nobody is talking to them.
You've given them nothing.
Exactly.
You say that there are things, as Matterson just said, you say that you build this for this, you build that for them, but they're not functional. And they're not functional on a human level.
And they're not functional on
no, I'm just saying, you're giving them infrastructure, but you're not giving them the things that they need to support them.
Because no need assessment was done.
The people in Beta need to be raised to the level of the people in Westmoreland for you to create a generation. And I'm saying,
you're correct.
And
you don't have to go to school at BMW because Westmoreland's going to school at BMW. But if you come, if Westmoreland's children have after school extracurricular activities, football, ballet, gymnastics,
instead of the pool do that. Instead of the pool,
the facilities
do that.
Already exist. The same school that just closed at 3 o'clock is the same school you're using to teach them karate, taekwondo.
The retired principal, teacher, and so forth. We engage them.
Most people in Trinidad and Tobago at the age of 65 retire out of the system when they are the brightest, most experienced, most knowledgeable, most productive. Give those people a chance to give back to society. Because if those people go and sit at home by scenting it dead. But you give them something to hope towards. Okay, transition to a different. I made my life, I made my money. Now I'm going to run a 3-hour program after school. And I'm going to make people, everything I know, I'm going to pass it on.
Correct.
Why are we not doing things like that? There is no social development master plan in this country for the people because the PNM has always wanted people divided and underdeveloped.
And dependent.
So, well, the
dependent.
dependency comes from that underdevelopment. But the 1% that owns the PNM gets cheap labor and could control what you consume. And that...
You want to take calls?
You want to take calls?
You take calls.
Kyle...
No, is it
342-0081 466-5391. We're taking your calls. Please limit your contribution to a minute. And if you're going on down the political talk part, we're going to cut you.
Just now, you say something there that make me jump in something here. Is it that is the reason why the PNM doesn't want to embrace the African Exim Bank that will stimulate activities in those communities from a financial standpoint? I wonder. I just put a question mark with inverted commas.
Among the pigeon. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning. Good morning.
Morning.
Thanks for taking the call. Good morning. I know I only have a minute, but in that minute, I listened to you all, and I want to tell you, all what you all are speaking about social development starts in the womb. So what you have to deal with, who is the owner of the womb? The mother. Because that child learns from in the womb, not to come in a John's class, this thing. We have to start, even the mother has to be thinking, critically thinking good to develop that child in her womb.
I accept that. I accept that 100%. I accept that 100%. I accept that.
Right,
the environment of child is...
Isn't the what we're speaking about is 25, 24, and the government did that. Remember, is what am I doing to this fetus in my body?
Thank you very much for that contribution. We agree with you 100%.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We agree with you 100%. Yeah, take all. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Philip.
Good morning.
Good morning, the panel. Happy to see you.
Morning.
I love the conversation this morning. You're talking solutions, right? And I love that, especially when it comes to the people on the ground and the economic move forward. Because that is what I've been fighting for years. Now, I came up with an idea called the capture program.
Sorry, say it again. Sorry, what is that?
All right. I came up with an idea called the capture program, right? The capture program is basically capturing the young people between the ages of 7 to 14 years old, right? And these young people, need to be captured before they reach into the hands of gangs because they're being recruited, right? A lot of the young people, the education system fail them, right? And they end up in gangs. The girls end up running away and going to leave home and end up in all over the place and all these things. So we have to develop a program called the capture program. Not everybody in the education system will capture. So the people
let me ask you something, right? Because let me interrupt you and ask you this, right? My number is 682-2110. Send me WhatsApp that whole plan. You and I will talk, and we'll try and see we get you on the show to talk about
Philip have my number. Philip have my number, so I can take you for my number. They have here.
Okay, cool. Thank you for that.
Yeah. All right, cool.
Any more? Hello, good morning.
No
more right now.
Yeah.
Okay. But you were saying something, Salman?
Yeah, so to turn around the economy to a large extent, as the lady said, start with where this thing begin in the community and so forth. Our energies to a large extent
knows the problem in Trinidad and Tobago is they've damaged the Afro-Trinbagonian community. The East Indian community ended up with people like Sat Maharaj because they didn't have a PNM. They had nobody. So they had to make their own way. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Morning.
Morning. My input is the conversation I was having with Mr. Alexander the other day with this problem with this marijuana, because there are minute amount of citizens in my position who deal with pain management, and we really need effective, proper medicine. You understand? This thing that being forced upon us, it's not working. It's not working for us. You understand? I'm a person who experiencing paralysis, and it's pain management, serious pain management we deal with. So we're not smoking for laughs, and we're not smoking to get.
Brother, I absolutely understand what you're saying, And we need to address it from that point of view. Absolutely.
To deal with us.
Medicinally,
Yes.
and I agree with you. And I'm sorry for rushing you off the phone because you ran completely out of time. I want to say, Selvon, give me your closing comments.
Philip, to a large extent, we the people could solve this problem if we really conscious about what our needs are, not what somebody put in our head as their needs for us, really and truly.
We got to continue this conversation tomorrow.
Yeah, I want to say that, I mean, this was a good conversation.
I'm going to ask for an
today,
extended show tomorrow, and we will get into it deeper.
But what the
And let the
people
callers
of
come
Trinidad
in,
and Tobago need to think about is food in their pocket.
Money in their pocket,
food in their fridge.
Yeah.
That way you're voting for.
Yep.
Selvon said it earlier, he said it a different way, but voting have consequences. You alluded to it too. Voting has consequences. We voted for the last 10 years in a certain direction. Those of you who supported the PNM, did you get the country, the society that you wanted? Forget what you got handout on your own side. Because like a lady I was dealing with yesterday in Belmont, in that circular, she living in a good house and she have up her flags, but all her neighbors suffering and the community bad and she is safe. Because she can't come out her house after 6 o'clock. Once that start to get dark and the vampires start to roam, she in trouble. You cannot support the government not supporting you. It comes down to that. People need to vote into office, not who you like. Vote into office who will make your life better. And the United National Congress Coalition of Interest is an amalgamation of people. When you listen to people like Felicia from the PSA talk, you realize we have the bright people now. When you have Johnny Abraham and Roger Alexander to deal with national security, you know we are on the right track. We are reminding you that we are days away from an election that could make all the difference. Voting have consequences. And on the 28th of April, please come out in your numbers and vote yourself a better country. Vote the United National Congress Coalition of Interest. Stay safe. Till tomorrow. Trinidad.
No jobs, no safety, no water, no justice, no accountability, bad roads, corrupt politicians, no more. We're going and fix it. It's time.
By BP, Progressive Empowerment Party. Save TNT, vote PEP. Save TNT, vote PEP.
You've got bills to pay, and so do we. Let's go pay some bills on the street. 919 FM.